Hello there, Carrie Rhoades here. Welcome back to the Dare to be Artsy YouTube channel. I'm so excited to be sharing this cute Fruit Loops card with you, inspired by a card I posted already on the Dare to be Artsy blog, but I wanted to share with you how I did some no-line coloring to turn these into Fruit Loops. So here is a look at the Fruit Loops stamp set. And you can see the images and sentiments I'm going to be using there. And the wavy slimline border die set is the die set I'm going to be using on today's card as well. So I'm taking that angled piece from the die set and die cutting this yellow panel that's 3.5 inches wide to create a panel that will be representational of a Cheerios box. And then I'm going to take this cluster of circles and stamp that repeatedly onto this panel with some clear pigment ink to give it just some interest. So I'm going to use my anti-static powder tool over that and then repeatedly stamp this to cover the entire piece. Now, it doesn't really matter if I get this lined up perfectly. It doesn't really matter if I overlap a couple of them. It's fine for the look I'm going for today. But you can imagine all the fun things that you could use with this set. It could be bubbles too. So cute. All right, so I'm covering that with clear embossing powder. I'm going to heat set that with my heat tool. And at this moment, I realized my clear powder had accidentally got some white in it. So I've got some white flecks on my Cheerios, but it's not too bad. I decided to go ahead and use it. Now I'm going to use this open circle image and some antique linen distress ink to stamp my Fruit Loops down the front of my slimline card panel. And this will represent or look like the cherry or the Fruit Loops falling out of the box. I just love the play of, you know, tipping over the Cheerios box and Fruit Loops coming out, and it goes really good with the sentiment that I chose for this card. So now I'm stamping some extra pieces onto a scrap piece of white cardstock so that I can come back and color and die cut those out. Next, I am hand drawing a bowl for my Fruit Loops to go into. Now, if you don't know me, you might not know that this is hard for me right here. This is not exactly my area of expertise, but I know a lot of people color their own scenes, so I just went for it and colored my own bowl. There's all the Copic markers I'm going to use to do my no-line coloring and turn these images into Fruit Loops. So you just want to take your darkest color, trace the outer and inner circle, and then color them in with your lightest color. Now, there is no need to be perfect when you're doing these because Fruit Loops are not perfectly round. They have a little bit of bumpiness to them and irregularities. So if you have a shaky hand or you can't trace a perfect circle like myself, then you can still color these and make some really cute Fruit Loop images. So I would love to hear from you guys. Are you a Fruit Loop person or a Cheerios person? I would have to say if it comes to breakfast, I am probably more of a Cheerios girl, probably Honey Nut Cheerios. Fruit Loops might be a little too sugary first thing in the morning for me, but they make an amazing snack and maybe even a dessert. So they're pretty fun. I have seen some creative recipes with Fruit Loops as I've been kind of researching Fruit Loops to do these cards. So here I am just finishing up coloring each of these. I tried to leave my markers in order so it made coloring them faster. You could go through and color all the purples, all the reds, but you know, whatever system works best for you. So there we go. We'll finish up with one more Fruit Loop that is falling into the bowl, and then it is time to color the bowl itself. I'm only using two markers, my B04 and my B02 marker. Now, I am not one for drawing in my own scenes, so this was a step outside of my comfort zone, but I went for it anyway, and I like the way that it turned out, but I also think I learned a little bit and would have some knowledge based on experience the next time I do want to color my own scene with my markers. I feel like maybe the inside of the bowl should have been darker than the outside, but I will go over this again later in the video just to smooth out those colors a little bit. And now I'm going to bring in some tonal gray markers to add some shadows and a little tabletop for my bowl to sit upon. I will start with my T4 marker to add in those darkest shadows, and then my T1 and T2 markers to blend that out. And I think having the shadow on the sides of the bowl really helps to ground it. And then I will bring in my T0 marker and add a shadow underneath each of the Fruit Loops and just a little dot on the inside circle to help them just kind of pop off the page. But this is the part right here that really brings the Fruit Loops to life. I'm using a white gel pen to add little highlight lines, and then the dots represent the sugary sprinkled goodness on top of Fruit Loops. And this is the part that just makes me so happy because they finally look complete. And I think without the white dots, it's just not the same, but adding those really makes all the difference. So I'll do the same to my little pieces, and then I'm going to die cut them out with the circle die from the Wavy Slimline Borders die set. It cuts them out perfectly. So I'll have those for accent pieces. Now I'm gluing on this panel here, which, like I said, represents the Cheerios box. It's not exactly perfect, but hey, it works for this card. And then I'm going to stamp a sentiment, be a Fruit Loop in a world of Cheerios, onto some black cardstock, just a scrap I have laying around, and I'm embossing that with white powder and die cutting it out with a double stitched circle, and that's going to fit on the front of my card beautifully. So I'll pop that right up in the center there, just like that. Next, I took a scrap of red cardstock and die cut the largest heart from the die set, and I will add that right next to my sentiment, because the Cheerios box always has a heart on it because they're heart healthy. So I thought it went really good with this card. I added a couple heart embellishments and covered my heart die cut with some glaze. And now I'm going to sprinkle on some chunky glitter just to add a little fleck of fun to my card. And I'm going over that bowl a second time with my B02 marker just to really kind of soften the lines and help it blend together a little bit better. And I think that really helped me like it a little bit more. All right, it'll do. It'll do. Adding some white highlights to that to bring it to life. And like I said, it's not perfect, but I'll take it. I'll take it. If you have any tips for coloring this bowl, feel free to leave them in the comments for me. I'm stamping "You Are Amazing" from the Fruit Loop stamp set on the inside of the card and embossing that with white powder as well, so it just really pops when you open up this card and you have that repeated look of the white embossing on the inside of the card like on the outside. I'm going to glue my front piece onto this 8.5 by 7 slimline card. So when folded in half, this card actually measures 8.5 by 3.5. And then I'm going to add my little extra Fruit Loops that I die cut out onto the side of the bowl because the bottom just needed something to help kind of anchor it. It was really top heavy. And then I'll take the 3 extra and add those to the inside of the card. Now my glaze is still wet, which is why I put the glue on the front of the card instead of on the back of my card front, and why I'm being really careful to glue these on the inside without just completely opening my card so my glaze doesn't, slide off to the side, because that's not cute. All right, that finishes up today's card, and I'm also going to bring in the original card that inspired this one. You may have seen it already on the Dare to Be Artsy blog, but now you know exactly how I made it. So you can also check out these cards on the Dare to Be Artsy blog. I'll have a link to that, as well as the cute Dare to Be Artsy products that I used to make it. I hope that you have a fabulous week, and I thank you so much for stopping by. I will be back again soon with more cute things, and I dare you to be artsy. Bye.